Hi everyone, welcome back to this ICSE Grade 10 series. What I focus here is not just on explaining the concepts, but on showing the systematic steps on how to write the answers, because in the ICSE board examination, every step counts and neatness counts. You have to write things systematically. What happens is when students don't write things systematically, they mess up in their own steps. There are times when students can't read their own handwriting. They read 1 as a 7 or 7 as a 1, stuff 0 as a 6, and 6 is written as a 0 or read as 0. Their own handwriting they not read. Raise your hands, how many of you have really done this? So here I'm showing few step-by-step ways to solve sums. The sums I've picked up are from this book, which is ICSE, the Frank book for grade 10. Okay, so Concise is another book which a lot of schools use. So this is just a few variation in the sums, so such students have a more of a variety. Yeah. In case you all feel the video is going so fast, you all please feel free to pause and go back and refer to the same video. The steps are very self-explanatory. One or two formulas you all may need to know here or there. In case you all have any queries, there is my contact details in the comments, so you all can also get in touch with me on that. Okay, so you're starting out. These sums are from the chapter Arithmetic Progression, and the exercise I've taken is exercise 9B from Frank. Yeah, so let's go to the first sum. Find the sum of the following. Here there's a series given. Here the first term is 4, the last term is 100, and you have to find the series. So the formula is, I have to find what is the 100 term first. What is the n for 100 term? You all know by now an is equal to a plus n minus 1 times d. Here the 100 is the last term, but I want to know what is the n value. It's what term, whether it's the 20th term or 15th term. I need to know n for 100. So here I'm calculating that. Please look at the step by steps. Here n I've calculated it as 13. The next is I use the sum of n formula. Okay, now sum of n formula is the sum of 13 terms is equal to n upon 2 in brackets a plus l. A is first term and L stands for last term. Okay, so here it's 13 upon 2, 4 plus 100. It's pretty self-explanatory here. I urge you all, okay, the reason why I have put up the workings here, I urge you all that even when you all are doing the working, please do not use calculators and do your workings like this. Yeah. Okay, coming back to this. Yeah. 1 minute. I'm just trying to guess. Yeah. So the answer, sum of all these numbers is 676. Okay. The next one has a little bit of a fractions in it, but the concept remains the same. Here they are saying it's up to 45 terms. So they're not giving you the last term. In the previous sum, they had given you the last term. Here they are saying you have to calculate it up to 45 terms. So I find A45 and I find the 45th term. So what I have found here, this is the 45th term, 24. This is my 45th term. Yeah. So, and then I use the sum of n formula. And once I've done that, here, this is the sum of n formula, which is the sum of 45 terms. So my n becomes 45 here. And yeah, and then might find the answer is 585. 585 is my addition of all these terms, 2 being the first term, all the way up to 45 terms. Yeah. Go back to the next one. Find the sum of so and so terms. Now this is a good, very close one where d is 2 and a is 1. It's a very easy sum. Please take your time, pause the video and try and go through it. Since the entire working is given, I'll move on to the next sum. Few important sums I will explain in between, but most of the sums are pretty self-explanatory. Here, find the sum of the following again in the third one up to, sorry, the fourth one. I'm here. Your A is 102, D is -5, correct? Why is it -5 and why not 5? Because when I want to calculate D, what I need to do? I have to do this term, this term minus this term. Okay, it's the reverse. So when I need to calculate the difference, it is this term minus the previous term. I can't do the reverse. So my D here is a negative number. Yeah. Then I use the sum of n formula here. Cool. And I find this. Going to the next sum. Find the sum of all 2-digit numbers. Now make a note here. 2-digit numbers, my first number is not 11. It is 10. Most people make the mistake of writing it as 11. And the last is not 90. It is 99. Okay. Now I know that my last one is 99. I need to find my n for 99. So I use this formula and I find my n for that 99. So 99 is actually my 90th term. Okay. Now I use that 90 where? In this formula, in the sum of n formula, where this is where I'm going to use it. Okay. And I find my sum of n. Going further to the third sum. Find the number of terms in the AP whose sum is given. Okay, so they are giving me the sum. Here, the application of the same formula, everything is the same. Only thing is you land up in a quadratic. Okay, so I combine the terms 6 minus 2 I'm allowed to do here. So I do a 4. Then I open the bracket. I have pulled out a 2 common. From this, I have pulled out a 2 common so that I am able to get rid of the denominator and cancel it. Okay. Then I open the bracket and I land up in a quadratic. Okay. Now I am keeping the n positive. So I'm assuming this 450 shifts on the left hand side of on the right hand side. Right now the 440 is on the left hand side. It would shift to the right hand side and it would become a minus 440. Cool. Now I factorize the minus 440 into 2. I have done it here. And then I try and make pairs for the factors. That also is done here. Please make sure it's minus 440. So one of the factors has to be a minus, one has to be a plus. I want a plus 2n. So if I want a plus 2n, then it's 22 minus 20. And so the negative will go to the 20. We move ahead to see how it's getting solved. Please go through it. We say here that the number of terms n can never be negative. So even though n has 2 answers, I say that this is never going to be possible. So the answer is only the positive one. And therefore the number of terms n is 20. Yeah. Going to the next one. Find the number of terms in the AP whose sum is given in the bracket. Again, I find the 7. Yeah, the sum is given to me as 72. Here too, I land up in a quadratic. Please go through the quadratic here. One, you all can pause the video and try and solve it yourself. Please focus here. When you all have formed this quadratic, the numbers are too large. Okay, so one thing I have done is I have divided the entire thing by 2. Yeah, so when I divide every single term by 2, I get this. It is important to deal with smaller numbers. Why you want to unnecessarily deal with larger numbers? Okay, so this is important. Here n has 2 values and both are positive. So I have to write both as my answer options. Yes. Moving on. Here they are saying this is a very sum where the sum is 0. So here I'm going to write 0. Okay. Here n can be 0 or n can be 15. Okay, so we choose the 15. Moving on to the fourth sum. Again, it's a quadratic. Please pause and go through it. Keep focusing on the right hand side of the thing where you have to do the multiplications yourself without using a ICSE, the divisions. You have to do factorizations before the quadratic and you break up the things yourself. Okay, these form a part of it. Focus on the neatness, focus on being able to read your own handwriting. Fifth sum, the last term is given and the first term and the common difference are given. You have to find the sum. Okay, so since my last term is given, I'm going to find the n for my last term using this formula. I think once you do the first 3-4 sums, you'll pretty much get a hang of it yourself and you won't even need to see my solutions. I'm very sure all of you are very smart. Yeah, the sixth sum, again, this is quite an easy one, only the numbers are a little bit larger. The sum of the first 51 terms of an AP, second and third term is given. Now, second and third term is given, so automatically you can tell the D. The D is 4. So they're not going to tell you the D. Okay, so you have to deduce that the D, which is the common difference, is 4, and then move on with the sum. The other formulas and other things remain the same. Seventh sum, sixth is half of fourth. Yeah, the sixth term is half of the fourth term here. For the sixth term, I'm going to use 6 minus 1D, and for the fourth term, I'm going to use 4 minus 1D or 3D. People do it directly, 5D and 3D, that's also fine. Solve it in an algebra format, and this is what I get. Okay, leave this aside in your mind. This is going to be substituted later. Now let's form the second part of it. What part of the question is it that I've not yet used? I haven't used this part of the question yet. Yeah, so I'm going to use it here. Okay, I use the n as 3 and I'm stuck here. What to do here? What I do, I take this, what I had here, the same thing, and I substitute it. I substitute A. Okay, and instead of A, I'm going to substitute and then I'm getting this. Solve further. Now it's pretty easy for y'all. You finish part 1 and move on to part 2. Part 2 also is the sum of n. Here too you land up in a quadratic. Make sure that you've done the factors correctly. You know the factors of 44. Obviously, you don't need to do the factorization. Here n has 2 values. So since both are positive, I'm going to write both as my answer. Yeah. Sum number 8. Here also I'm going to have 2 equations and I'm going to solve them simultaneously. Okay, so once you substitute in the formula, you get the first equation in the sum formula. Then when you substitute in the an term, I get my second formula. I have my first one and I have my second equation. Now these 2 equations, how do I solve for simultaneously? I have multiplied my second equation entirely by 2. Why? Because this is A. I want to make this as 2A. This is an A. So I want to make this as a 2A. So how do I do it? This I want to, yeah. Okay, I multiply every single term in the equation by 2. So I land up where I can cancel out my 2A and 2A. And my D is negative 2. Once I get my D is negative 2, what do? I substitute it and find my A. Please go through every step and you have to try and do every sum. These solutions are just for reference. For example, you solve a sum and your answer does not tally with the answer. Then you can just check your working. Where in your working have you made that mistake? Here? It's just that the question is given to you in a different format. Otherwise, the only 2 formulas are used here in the entire thing. Sum of n and the an formula, which an formula you have been using since exercise 9a, so it's nothing new. Yeah, one thing I would like to highlight here is, here, this is my quadratic. Now, what do I factorize? Do I only break up negative 940? No, I do negative 940 into 3, which is negative 2820. And then I factorize the bigger number. Because there's no 1 here. No? If there was a 1 n square, then it's different. But it's 3n square. So I have to use the 3 somewhere. I can't just ignore the 3 and factorize 940. Yeah.